Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for once again tuning into the African Reform channel, where we talk all things African politics with a specific emphasis on Ghana. Once again, I'm your host, Uche Noka, and we're going to be speaking to our esteemed, distinguished guest, Dr. Nii Amudako, who has the most brilliant mind when it comes to anything to do with politics. This is definitely somebody you should tune into and listen to. I'm not going to be speaking very much because I really want you to capture the richness of what he is saying. He's a true visionary in the truest sense of the word. So I'm not going to be speaking very much during this particular broadcast. Just listen to him and just take on board what he is saying, okay? Because you send all of your questions to our live stream. And what I'll do is at the end of it, if we have enough time, I'll put the questions to Dr. Nii and he'll answer those for you, okay? You can also join all of Dr. Nii's social media accounts. There are his handles there. So please feel free to connect with him on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or here on YouTube. If you are going to join on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, okay? And we will speak to you there also. So without any further ado, this third session is going to also be about God's own system of democracy, how to govern a nation successfully. And Dr. Nii is going to take us through this third installment. So please have your notepads and pens ready to take any notes and to write down any questions you want to ask. Dr. Nii, over to you.
Thank you very much, Uche, for your kind words. This is the third and probably the last part of the series on Afremocracy. And today we're going to look at three main areas of the concept. That's the National Parliament, Council of State, and the Electoral Commission. We are going to start from the beginning. And the beginning is the first article in the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. It says this: the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in a manner and within the limits laid down in this constitution. Now, it says that the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana. And this is what happens at elections. At elections, the people of Ghana transfer this sovereignty to the politicians who contest for political office. What it means is this: for the state to be fair, then the same number of people must transfer their sovereignty to the same number of elected people. The same number of electors must transfer their power to the same number of the elected. What we have in Ghana at the moment is a far cry from that. In the last elections, the largest constituency had 180,000 voters, and the smallest constituency had 18,000 voters. So 180,000 transferred their votes to one person, and 18,000 transferred their mandate to one person in the same parliament. That is certainly not fair. That is certainly not representative democracy. Now, Uche, can you please put on slide 4? Yeah. I'll show you the best practice in the world.
Oh. Hold on 1 second, sorry.
The fourth slide refers to how the Parliament of South Africa is constituted. Now, we have 400 members of parliament in South Africa, and their proportional representation is basically based on the advice Jethro gave to Moses, that have leaders of thousands, have leaders of hundreds, have leaders of 50s, have leaders of 10s. So that if you decide that at this level, 1,000 people should choose one leader, then that should span through the whole system. And that's what they call the proportional representation. In South Africa, if you have 400 members of parliament, then the threshold for one member of parliament is supposed to be what? 0.25% of the votes.
Okay, can you see that? I can't. Can you see it?
No.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry, could you just keep speaking. I'll bring it up. I don't know what's happened here.
Okay.
A bit of technical difficulties here. Just keep talking.
Yeah, in South Africa, proportional representation is by parties. So whatever percent the party gets in the elections, the party get the same percentage of members of parliament. So if a party gets 50% of votes and the number of parliamentarians are 400, that party gets 200. Good. So you can see here in best practice South Africa, proportional representation by parties. They have 400 seats for 100% vote. Therefore, the threshold is 0.25 of votes. To have one seat in parliament, a party must obtain 0.25% of the votes. In the last elections, ANC obtained 57.5% of the vote, and they got 57.5% of the seats. That is 230. DA got 21% of the vote, and DA got 21% of the seats of parliament. That is 84. And EFF got 11% of the vote, and therefore got 11% of seats in parliament, which is 44. So exactly the votes, the percentage of votes you get correlates exactly with the number of seats you get in parliament. In Ghana, there's no such a thing. Can we please have the next slide? Good. In Australia, it is proportional representation by states. So you see here that New South Wales is 32% of the population. So out of the 150 seats in parliament, New South Wales has 32% of the seats, and that is 48. Victoria is 26% of the population. So out of the 150 seats, Victoria has 26%, which is 39. And Queensland is 20% of the population. So out of the 150 seats, Queensland has 30, which is 20%. Now, Western Australia is 10% of the population and has 10% of the seats in parliament, which is 15. Now, mind you, Western Australia is 8 times the size, the land size is 8 times that of Victoria. But we do not use land size for representation. We use population, because at elections is the people who transfer their sovereignty to their elected officials, not land, not anything. And that is why in Australia, the population of a state correlates exactly the number of seats it has in parliament. Now, these are forms of proportional representation by party and by states. The great news is that under Afremocracy, I have combined both. I have combined the best in South Africa and the best in Australia. Can you please go to slide 2? Okay. So here we have 100 members of parliament. So the threshold is 1%. Any party that gets 1% will get 1 member of parliament. If the party gets 50% of the votes, it's going to get 50% of seats in parliament, which is 50. Now, so we are using the party mechanism. A party will get the same percentage of votes it gets as seats in parliament. So here, if party A and B get 11 and 20% of total vote, they will get 11 and 20 seats respectively in parliament. Okay. Now, so that is how it's done in South Africa. Now, again, in Ghana, I've combined the party and the states so that regions also come in. If a region gets 1% of votes, that region will get 1 seat in parliament. Now, what I've said here is that if regions A and B pool 8 and 10% of total votes, then they get 8 and 10 seats respectively. So that when you come into the Parliament of Ghana, you see equal representation of both parties and regions in the Parliament. A region that polls 9% of the votes is going to get 9 seats in Parliament. A region that polls 10% is going to get 10 seats in Parliament. And when we do that, we realize that we have created a fair state.
Okay.
Because everybody, 9% transfer their sovereignty to 9 people. 10% transfer their sovereignty to 10 people. It's as simple as that. Like I'm saying, in the last election, for instance, in the last elections, Ashanti region polled about 20% of the votes. But in the Parliament of 275 members, 20% should give what? 55 seats, but it has only 47 seats. Greater Accra is even worse. Greater Accra also polled 20% of the votes, so it should also have 55 seats, but Greater Accra has only 34. Meanwhile, Eastern region that polled 10% has 33, and Greater Accra that polled 20% has 34, the same. But one region is twice as big as the other. That is not fair representation. That is not proper transfer of sovereignty of the electorate to the elected officials. And this is what we seek to change in Afremocracy under our national parliamentary system. The advantages are many. Can you please have slide 3? We can see the advantages, many of them. One, if it's the fraudulent first past the post. Now, first past the post means that the highest, the MP who polls the highest vote, but not the majority. So you have a situation where if you have 3 parties, the highest vote, the person who polls the highest vote may have only 45% of the votes, but he will go and represent the whole constituency in Parliament. Meanwhile, 55% of the people did not vote for him.
All right.
It stops the unequal mandate transfer, or I've discussed that already. It is the gerrymandering of the constituencies to benefit incumbents, so that we started with 200 parliamentarians. Now we have 275. Everybody who comes tries to add more constituencies to favor himself. With this system, we're starting with 100 and we're going to end in 100. You cannot change it. 1% votes give 1% seat. Then it stops the unnecessary pressure from ethnic groups and others for their own constituencies. It stops the time and money wasting in by-elections. This is a whole thing that I can talk forever, but we'll just move from here. Then, of course, we can have all the other things there, which we can talk if you ask any question about it. But the main thing is that we are going to have the same number of people having the same number of representation in Parliament. The same number of regions, the regions who have equal number of seats in Parliament, that correlates to the number of people who voted in their regions. Can we now move to the next big thing, which is the Council of State?
What slide is that?
That is a 6th slide.
Okay.
Council of State, I've called it Ghana Manshiamu. Those who understand it means that the Ghana Council of State. Now, this is another representative body to break the collision between the executive and its rubber stamp legislature. The philosophy again is from Jethro, but I realize the structure is from Ashanti. I have no doubt in my mind that Anoche was to Tutu as Jethro was to Moses. Now, the evidence is that Asante Manshiamu that flow from his mind to help the Asantini govern the newly created kingdom. At Asante Manshiamu, the Asantini meets with his paramount chiefs, divisional chiefs, and other elders to solve difficult problems in the kingdom. Ghana Manshiamu was designed from the philosophy of Jethro and the structure of Asante Manshiamu. Our current Council of State is an absolute joke. 60% of the members are appointed by the president, and that includes the chairman. Since 1992, not one single council of state has disagreed with the president. The council of state is another waste of taxpayers' money. At no point in time have they disagreed with the president. No, we want to counsel you on this. I don't think what you are doing is correct. It has never happened before. That is not the way to govern properly. You see, we need to, like I've always said, politics, as far as I'm concerned, is how people organize themselves for their development and prosperity. The structures they put in place, the way they design their constitution, to make sure that there are checks and balances, to make sure that everybody is held to account, and where advice is there, advice is given without fear or favor. That's what the council is supposed to do, but it doesn't do that because of the way it was designed. It was designed to be an appendage of the presidency, and that has not worked for us. So what do I suggest? My structure follows that of the Ashanti-Man Council. Next slide, please. So in the Council of State that I envisage, we are going to have 50 members drawn from elected statutory and traditional leaders at both national and state level. The structure is based on fair distribution. We have national leaders and statutory officers constitute 23 of the 50, state elected leaders 22, and traditional leaders 5. Just like the Ashanti-Man Council, where the Ashanti is the chairperson, under our Council of State too, the president is the chairperson and the prime minister will be the deputy chair. Then we have the 5 senior ministers there. We have Speaker of National Parliament. Then we have 6 other parliamentarians, 3 from the governing party and 3 from the opposition. Next, please. Next slide, please. Then we have Chief Justice and 2 other judges. We have Head of Civil Service as Secretary. We have Governor of Bank of Ghana. We have Chief of Defense Staff. We have IGP, BNI Director, Representative of Organized Labor, National Traditional Authority 5 members, State Premiers. As you know, from the second lecture, we said that we're going to divide Ghana into states based on 8 to 10% of the population. That gives us 11 states. So we're going to have 11 states and 11 state premiers. They will be there. And also, each state will have its own parliament. And we're going to have speakers of the 11 state parliaments there. And that gives us the 50. Now, when these people meet, they meet as the Council of States. None of them is appointed by the president. These are people who come from everywhere, like Jethro advised Moses, form leaders for thousands, hundreds, 50s, and 10s, and let them solve the problems in their localities. The difficult problems, let them bring them to you. So the Council of State is the forum at which these other leaders bring their difficult problem to Moses, in this case, to the Prince of Ghana. So that we all sit down there, we do all we have to do for the country holistically. Next slide. So now, what will the functions of the Council of State be? Developmental. So when we all sit there, the whole country would plan how to develop Ghana. And not only the planning, but after they've planned, they will evaluate and they will monitor the progress of what they have put into action. It also allows you to create a platform where national and state projects are harmonized and properly coordinated to avoid duplication. That is one major. The National Development Planning Committee, or whatever it's called, will be abolished. Developmental planning will be done at the Council of State, like they do in Ashanti-Man. Then it's going to have senatorial functions. What that means is that appointment of chief justices and Supreme Court members and Bank of Ghana governors and chief of defense staff and IGPs, and all those top government public statutory bodies will be appointed by the Council of State, not by the president, so that you'll be able to function independently. Now, what's going to happen is that for some of them, maybe 3 will be presented to the president. He will select 2, and the 2 will be brought to the Council of State, and they'll be quizzed, they'll be vetted, and the council will vote to choose one to be the substantive office holder. But for the first time in the history of Ghana, the president is not going to be able to appoint and pack Supreme Court to 18 members of Supreme Court. No, we'll decide that we have 7 members of the Supreme Court, and they will be appointed by the Council of State, so that they are accountable to the whole state, not to the president. Then, of course, the council will also review controversial decisions by the executive and the legislature. It's going to operate a committee system also, so that we have a committee on constitutional reforms, we have a committee on this, committee on that, and they can also bring up, so that when there is a problem with a legislation from Parliament and it's referred to the Council of State, the committee, the appropriate committee, can deal with it before bringing it to the floor for the general members to vote on. Basically, we want to make sure that the Parliament is no longer a rubber stamp for the executive. And the body to do that is the Council of State. And of course, if you see the structure, you can see that the Council of State is a fair representation of the whole nation. Every state will have its premier and its Speaker of Parliament there. Every state. The traditional owners of the land, our chiefs, will be represented by 5 members. And of course, then we have national leadership, then we have top public servants, the Bank of Ghana, Governor of Bank of Ghana, head of civil service, and our security services and our defense services. They will all be there to share their experience with the whole country. That's the kind of system we want. Not people who are appointed by the president and who are sycophants and bullies. We have people there who are independent people who can bring their knowledge, their wisdom, and their experience for national development and national cohesion. That's the.
Can I just interrupt by asking one question? Sorry, I want to ask one question. Why only 5 seats for the traditional leaders?
Because I'm giving them 10% of the seats of 50.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, because now when we think of having a fair representation, then you don't have to overdo any. You want to make sure that you have all the other people, all the stakeholders coming from everywhere. Mind you, every state will have 2 politicians there, the premier and the Speaker of Parliament.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a way of trying to bring everybody in. Something we don't have as of now.
Okay.
So the next one is the Electoral Commission. Can we have the next slide? Oh, okay. Now we have the advantages there. There are many. But yeah, you can look at that at a later stage. Let's move on to the third one, which is the new electoral system. We have a 3-tier system: Electoral Commission, Electoral Secretariat, and an Electoral Court. Now, the Electoral Commission is supposed to be the referee in our representative democracy. And the features of a good referee is that it should not be partial, no conflict of interest, not an affiliate of any of the contesting teams. The present EC does not meet any of the above features. The perennial confusion that we face after every election is easily understandable. When you have an EC that's appointed by one of the contesting teams, it can never ever be impartial. The conflict of interest is legendary, and it's definitely an affiliate of one of the contesting parties. We need a new system. We must show the world that we are not stupid. One party, one president appoints an electoral commission, an electoral commissioner. The opposition fights against it. the opposition comes to power, it appoints its own electoral commission and commissioner. The new opposition now fights against it because they all know that it is the wrong thing to do. They know you cannot be, you cannot appoint the match commissioner, the referee, the linesman in a match in which you are playing. You are contestant in that match. You cannot do that. But that's what we do. Anyway, what is the new way? Next slide, please. The philosophy of the new electoral commission is drawn from my experience of the Ga system. In the Ga system, I'm the Ga ethnic group. I'm a Ga. In the Ga ethnic group, the body that serves the role of the electoral commission is called Jase. Now, how is the Jase constituted? The four ruling houses select their best members, persons with integrity and good reputation, to represent them on this committee called Jase. When the mantle falls on one of the four ruling houses, the elders of the house meet and they select 2 or 3 of their sons to be vetted and voted on by the Jase to elect one of them as a new Gamanche. The difference here is that these members of the Jase are established people within the royalty with good knowledge of tradition and culture. They are not friends and family of the Gamanche. They choose the Gamanche and not the other way around. They are independent of the Gamanche because he has no hand in their selection. These are the basic principles underlying the construction of the new Electoral Commission. Next slide, please. Like I've said before, under our present 1992 Constitution, is the president that appoints the Electoral Commission. In the Ga system, is the other way around. Is the Jase, is the Electoral Commission that actually selects the Gamanche. So, apart from the Ga system, the way it operates, I've also tried to inculcate into the system the corporate governance principle of board of directors and the management committee. Now, so the Electoral Commission is going to be like the board of directors. It's going to be 5 members, senior and respected statutory officers of state. 1, representative of the Chief Justice. 2, Inspector General of Police. 3, government statistician. 4, Auditor General. Now, there are reasons why I've selected these people, because they do with accountability, they do with numbers, they do with the law, and they deal with security, internal security. Now, these 4 people will advertise for the job of Chief Electoral Officer, CEO, interview, and then appoint the most appropriate Ghanaian. This CEO, the Chief Electoral Officer, will be doing the work the current chairman of the Electoral Commission is doing. The CEO then becomes the head of the Electoral Secretariat, the administrative arm of the Electoral Commission. The Secretariat becomes like a ministry, and the CEO is Chief Director. Sorry. Next slide. So now the Electoral Secretariat will be operating like the Electoral Commission we have now, but it will be answerable. It will be answerable to the new Electoral Commission made up of the representative of the Chief Justice, the IGP, the government statistician, and the Auditor General. Now, this Electoral Commission then will in turn report to a 10-member committee on electoral matters drawn from Parliament and the Council of State. Now, in corporate terms, the Electoral Commission is the board of directors, and the Electoral Secretariat, the management committee. The CEO, also the Chief Returning Officer, shall be assisted by directors of 6 directorates. We have a director for elections, of legal affairs, finance, research, and human resources. At the moment, we don't have legal affairs department in the Electoral Commission. So if the EC goes to court, the EC will have to go and hire a lawyer from outside. The EC doesn't have its own lawyers. How can the quasi-judicial institute or organ like the EC not have legal department? We are going to change all that. I don't believe the EC has got an education and publicity department. How can it be? One of his core functions is to educate the people about the whole electoral process and things related to the electoral system. But here we are, we don't have such a department in the Electoral Commission. Now we're going to change it. The Secretariat is going to run the day-to-day affairs of the electoral system in Ghana, but it will be answerable to the Board of Directors, which is the Electoral Commission, the new Electoral Commission. Next slide. The third arm is the Electoral Court, where 2 or 3 are gathered in the name of politics. There will be disagreement. There's no two ways about that. Elections are time critical, so a fair and impartial mechanism must be found to deal with matters related to and arising from elections very speedily. So the Electoral Court system, I also got it from South Africa. I make it an augmented court of appeal. It's a court of finality. There is nothing beyond the Electoral Court. You can't take it to Supreme Court. You can't take it anywhere. It's a court of finality. And that is why I call it augmented court of appeal. One, it has a Supreme Court judge there. So that seals it. Okay, and he's the chairman. Then it has 3 judges from the Court of Appeal and a representative from National Transitional Authority. Its modus operandi is practical common sense and not a technical court. Next slide. The expectation is that matters will be dealt with speedily. You know, it's not going to be reading long lectures and all these complicated matters. The matter goes there, 1, 2, 3 days, dealt with, move on. As always, my source of inspiration, as you have seen. 1, traditional ethno-philosophy, as I've given examples here of Ga and Asante examples. 2, biblical knowledge of note. Example is that of Jethro. And 3, best practice in the world, as I've given examples from Australia and South Africa. Like I've always told you, everything I write comes from these 3 sources. Everything I write comes from best practice in the world, the words of Jesus Christ and his first apostles, and all other things that are consistent with the teachings of Jesus Christ, and traditional wisdom, as can be found in Ghana. Next slide. Conclusion. Tete Kwashi brought agricultural cocoa from the diaspora to build a new economy for Ghana. And Niamu is bringing political cocoa from the diaspora to build a new state for Ghana. Cha Omanyaba.
What does that greeting, what's that sign off mean in English?
Oh, it means that may blessings be our portion.
Okay. Amen.
Yeah. May blessings be our portion. So basically, we've tried to sort of rush through 3 aspects of Afremocracy: national parliament by proportional representation, by state, by regions, and by parties. We've gone through Council of State, national representation, state representation, and the major stakeholders in the country: Governor of Bank of Ghana, Chief Justice, and 2 other judges, our security and defense representatives, head of civil service. These are people who manage big areas of our system. All of them will be there, like it happens in Asante Mine. So that when we sit down with the state premiers and the state speakers of parliament, they bring their problems from the state to the nation, then we solve them together holistically. And then, of course, we have our new electoral commission three-tier system of the Electoral Commission as the board of directors, Electoral Secretariat as the administrative arm of the commission, and the Electoral Court as the final court of education in terms of or in relation with electoral matters. These are the new system that our new state needs. Ghanaians, I'm telling you, we don't need person A or person B, party A or party B. We need a new system. Person A, party A, person B, party B, they equal system 0. What we need is a new system, system 100. And these are three aspects of it. And with this, I bring to an end my discussion on Afremocracy. The other lectures are on the channel. You can listen to them, you can ask questions there, and I'll answer the questions. Thank you very much.
Okay.
If there are questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Nii. Thank you for your very clear presentation there. So far, we just have the one question. You can see that there from Sika Awuno. And she asks, is state premier the same or similar to governor or regional minister as we have it now?
No, very different. The state premier will be elected by the state. The state premier is the leader of the party with the majority seats in the state parliament. Now, the state parliament is 31 seats. So the party with the majority seats with 16 seats becomes the state premier. He is going to be an elected premier of the state. The regional minister we have now is appointed by the president. Okay, he has no mandate. He's appointed by the president and he represents the president in the region. That's what our constitution says. He represents the president in the region, even in regions where the president lost the elections woefully. Even in regions where the president will get 20%, 15% of the vote, he still appoints the regional minister to represent him, not the mandate of the people. And that's not democracy. How can you get somebody to represent you in the region you got 10% of the votes? The region rejected you. So it's very, very different. This one is based on state governments, based on state parliament, and the leader of the majority party becomes the state premier, and he chooses 6 commissioners to help him govern the state.
Okay. So I hope that answers your question there. Thank you for asking that. That's the only question we have, Dr. Nii. So we're at 38 minutes. So that's quite a good rounding off point. So thank you once again, everybody who joined in. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for hearing out Dr. Nii's vision for how to really transform Ghana, and actually it can be rippled out across different countries in the African continent as well. So thank you again, Dr. Nii, for your wisdom and insights. Just want to remind our viewers.
I will meet again on Saturday.
We'll meet again on Saturday. It'll be a completely different topic, so we're going to be meeting on Saturday, so tune in for that. Just to remind you, these are Dr. Nii's social media accounts, so please feel free to contact him there if you request any further information on anything he's mentioned in this episode or the previous episodes. I'll put all these things in the description box in the YouTube channel. But also, just remind you, last week he spoke about some books. Here is where all of his books can be purchased. So make a note of that and have a look at his bookstore, and there might be 1 or 2 books for you to purchase there. Some of them go into a lot more depth on the subjects, on the points that he's raised. So I would advise you to get those books. Again, I'll put this site under the description box in his YouTube account, so you can get it off there if you don't get it here at the moment. Okay, so that's everything. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Nii.
Thank you too, Uche. We'll meet again on Saturday.
We'll begin Saturday, 12 o'clock GMT. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.